What are cryptocurrencies?
Hey, hey, hey.
What are NFTs?
A non-fungible token.
Time to buy Bitcoin.
Bitcoin just seems like a scam.
What's up, Bitcoin?
Hello everyone, welcome back to On The Ledger. This is your host Moel Said and I'm back once again on your weekly rendezvous from Paris. How do we onboard the next billion users to Web3? That, ladies and gentlemen, is the billion-dollar question. But what if I told you that I've got the answer? Would you believe me? There are about 2.5 billion gamers in the world that generate a lot of value, over $137 billion, but that value is only captured by a limited number of companies. You and I, my friends, we get nothing but entertainment. Digital ownership completely disrupts the traditional Web2 model by allowing users to also become financial participants. We can now own, trade, and port our assets in between different environments thanks to blockchain technology. And that changes everything. That, my friends, is the Metaverse. Our guest today totally gets this. He's building a wild Metaverse that is about to take the world by storm. I'm obviously talking about Wilder World, an immersive and photorealistic 5D Metaverse that is at the intersection of car racing, digital fashion, and mind-blowing architecture. To discuss this, we've got Hypno, the co-founder and giga-brain behind all of Wilder World's amazing partnerships. Hypno, welcome to On The Ledger. How's it going?
Yo, how we doing, Mo? Lovely to be here. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Too kind. Big shout out to the Wilder Nation and obviously Ledger's community listening in here, where it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, pleasure to have you, man. I'm pretty stoked for this one, especially with what we've got coming. And let me hint at it, Ledger is about to get wild. So let's get to it.
Let's get wild.
Let's get wild. On The Ledger Season 2, Ledger enters Wilder World. Here we go. So, Hypno, let's set the table here. How would you explain Wilder World to the folks that have never heard of it?
Yeah, it's a really good question off the bat. I like it. Let's get just into the meat. I just want to say that we're also very excited to be partnering with you guys. We know that you're such a leader in the field, and it's an honor. It's an honor to do that, and looking forward to dropping some hints later in this chat about what we're up to. But yeah, look. Wild the world's wild, man. We're creating a new dimension of reality. You know, I think in its simplest form, it's an immersive 5D metaverse that we've built on Ethereum, Unreal Engine 5, and our sister company Zero. You can check that out at zero.tech. Mm-hmm. Wild World. We're powered by the Wild token, which we launched back in May on PokerStarter IDO. Very successful launch. It we were I think it was one of the quickest to sell out at the time. Obviously a lot's happened in the 7 months since that took place. We're powered by the Wild token, which is used in our Wilder World Metaverse market. So essentially we've built our own native NFT platform that is a Metaverse market. Everything in Wilder World you can buy and trade. From an NFT point of view, all has in-world utility. So all have some sort of activation in the metaverse or superpower or like utility of NFTs is a big strategy for us, obviously, moving into as we transcend into the metaverse. So our vision is pretty simple as well. We just want to create a fully decentralized, community-owned virtual nation that can be experienced in an immersive, photorealistic metaverse. So Miami is the first city we're launching in Wilder World. We've used LiDAR data. We've created one-to-one geographical replica of Miami being the crypto hotspot. Like if you speak to anyone in the US at the moment, everyone's moving to Miami. We've set it in a nearby alternative dimension. It's definitely a protopia. If we're building Ready Player One, it's definitely in the protopia element and futuristic vibe, playing off we hat tip to the 80s Miami as well. There's a bit of cyber punk flair and a little touch of fantasy. So that's the first city that we're releasing. Within that kind of first release city, player versus player, play to earn will be a key part of Wilder World, which can be engaged through various micro games. The first micro game, obviously, which you mentioned, will be racing for pink slips. So using Wilder wheels and NF 6,963 programmatically generated one of one Wilder wheels collection that we dropped. So think GTA with real stakes on the line and a lot less violence. And yeah, I guess Wilder Wheels is the first major industry we launched in Wilder World as well. We're offering playable vehicles that you'll be able to race inside Miami. Each vehicle has dynamic gameplay, different attributes that offers various things like handling, speed, acceleration. So very similar to Axie Infinity. Like there's inflationary and deflationary mechanics in the NFT economy that enable you to modify and evolve your vehicles and gameplay. So Wheels is just the first industry. You also mentioned fashion. Fashion is we launched our fashion industry. We did our Wild, our Kicks Metaverse Kicks campaign, very successful. They looked very awesome. We did them with 3D artist Pet Liger. He dropped them on our did a code drop on the Wild World Metaverse market. They will all have their own unique utility and abilities in Wilder World as well. And then Wilder Cribs was our real estate industry that we launched. We really liked this one. It was like fantastic. We whitelisted our community. There was like, I think they sold for 500, they minted for 500 wild, and then essentially got flipped on the secondary less than 30 minutes later for 40 ETH. So people were paying off their own their mortgages. Community members were paying off their mortgages in real life. So we love that story, and we like everything that we do is about our community, building our community. We have something called the Wilder Spirit, which like you either have it or you don't, and it's very strong within the Wilder Nation. And so yeah, man, like that's kind of a really sneak kind of peek at what we do. You can also check out like go onto Twitter or Instagram. We're always dropping Easter eggs around some of the especially some of the build out of the actual metaverse, the land, what we have there. And yeah, man, I think beyond that, Miami will provide an expansive virtual environment for both artists and collectors to explore. We're really an artist. We're really built by artists for artists, and like that's we've got over 100 people contributing now across 20 different countries. So it's like it's a pretty
wild
amazing
world.
project. Yeah, it's wild, man. So yeah.
So you said a lot of things here. So you've got so basically you're building a world there. So you've got a city. In that city, you've got cars. You've also got sneakers. You've also got cribs, and you have games, play to earn mechanisms. That's amazing. But how do they all intersect? So as a creator, as a user, how does it, in terms of experience, how do I, intersect all of these experiences together?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So how we've kind of been rolling out and how we see it rolling out is at stages. Obviously, the metaverse is meta. It's like, it's like the life's work of all the co-founders. Yeah, we're going to be building continuously. So we've essentially launched the token. We built the community, we launched the metaverse market. We've started to build these procedural drops, these in-world assets. Now, whilst we've been doing that, we've also been collaborating and bringing in some of the best 3D artists. Well, we're calling it 5D now, artists in the world, to help us kind of like to build the levels and build the game and build build the metaverse essentially. So that's kind of the first interaction, or the first kind of way that our community will be able to get involved will be through Wilder Wheels, which is the alpha game that we're testing with our community at the moment. You'll be able to race your NFTs, and then as we continue this year, obviously don't want to put a lot of I don't think the devs would love it if I put a timeline on it, but this year we're definitely going to have open beta in Miami and also open world in Miami. This year is definitely what we're focusing on. So how so we'll have a number of procedural drops and a number of assets that all have utility in the metaverse. There's no point just building a metaverse and there's nothing to do in there or there's nothing in there. So we've always been skating to where the puck is going to be. And we've always been focusing on, in-world utility, knowing that DeFi, NFTs, DAOs, and VR will all converge in the metaverse. That's what we're being 100% focused on. So a lot of these assets are like, think of them like industries. So, like we said, we've got the automotive industry with wheels, we've got the fashion industry with kicks, we've got the aviation industry with crafts that we launched, and then the real estate industry with cribs, and now we're focusing on land. Land is the next kind of big deal for us in terms of what we're kind of offering up to our community and the broader public. So we're building these industries that, like our NFT platform, the Metaverse Market, is essentially a categorizing system for those industries and what you can buy and the assets you can buy in Wetaverse. They're just really beautifully designed and made as well. So they're a lot of fun, and it's wild, man, when you think about it. Like, what we're really excited about is the industries that don't exist yet that like are going to come about through the metaverse. And like a lot of our team and a lot of like creatives and all of us are always like, like always waxing on like what that is, what that looks like. We obviously have to make it like when we mentioned metaverse DAOs and NFTs 6-7 months ago, everyone still thought we were crazy. What are you talking about? So there has to be this gradual kind of progression into the metaverse or transcendence, like I said earlier, around mainstream, and some people get it and are deep in it, or are gamers, or are deep in crypto, but we feel like this year is really going to be the year where mainstream makes the transition. I think we're expecting Apple to drop the headset pretty soon. I think we're going to have the iPhone moment when that happens, and when that does, a lot of people are going to be in these virtual worlds. And one thing that we think that we're doing that sets us apart is focusing on photorealism, hyperrealism. So that's kind of really how we're tipping our hats to the OGs, Sandbox, Decentraland. They paved the way for us. But we're absolutely focusing on photorealism at all levels of our existence in the metaverse.
And speaking of Sandbox and Decentraland, back to something that you were saying earlier about you launching the industries first and then the land, which is kind of the other way around of, comparing to what the Sandbox or Decentraland did. What's the vision behind that?
Yeah, well, we really wanted to, so there's a few things there. We want to build the culture and the community from the ground up in Wilder World and Miami. So we really want to give access to our community, and obviously we've been doing these partnerships, which we'll mention shortly. So really focusing on crypto, on people who that invoke the wilder spirit and align with us from a cultural level to go, all right, well, let's actually build out fun things to do and like really relevant things to do for people before we actually just open it up for like land developers or whales or these types of people to come in and maybe set the culture. So that's kind of been the strategy there, and like really wanting to make sure that we our community is at the center of because the like Wilders, like, man, you guys would see it with Ledger as well, because you guys just have a really strong community and have a really strong product and really present. Like, we couldn't do what we do without like our community, man, without the Wilder Nation. So we're very blessed in that regard. So that's the kind of like thinking around that, is that let's make sure we have really cool things for people to do, really relevant things for people to do in the metaverse before we do that. Now, as I said, we're at that stage where we're pretty close to starting to do our own land sales, and that's the next frontier for us, and it's going to be it's going to be a wild ride as well, man. It's always a wild ride.
Yeah, it's interesting. And it's always very nice to see different ways of doing things and making things come to life, because it shows you the the wide array of possibilities that the metaverse can, offer in terms of possibilities. And there is something else I'd like to dive into a little bit. So you've spoken about all of these industries and all of these amazing, projects that you're building in Wilder World. But there's one thing that you haven't mentioned, which is avatars. Like, which form will people be able to embody in order to access this wild world of yours?
Yeah, no, it's a really good point as well. We have a number of and again, like, we're building in stages, and I think the key point is that we think Web3 is going to be fully open. Like, we're looking at it from a interoperability point of view. Like, what Web3 promises is that we can all create magic, or the projects that are on the journey, especially the decentralized projects, can all create magic together. So we see a world in Wilder World where you'll have your fluff be able to kind of roam around. You'll have your Bored Ape. You'll have anyone that actually wants to do 3D
Love it.
avatars. Like, we absolutely. So we don't even feel like we need to necessarily have our own function. Now we're going to drop our own PFP projects. We've got. I think you guys will have a little teaser to give away to your community around Wilder Pets, which is like mind blowing what that's going to be able to do. And then we've got these other this other project that we're working on called Pals, and they're like, I won't give too much away, but we honestly look at it
Please
like,
do.
we don't we yeah, man, jump some alpha here. No, we definitely have a lot of capability internally, and we're doing a lot because we're always getting to where the puck is going to be. So along that journey, we know that there's people doing things that are building stuff that are epic, and we want to. We're like open. We want to collaborate. We want to create like Wilder World with
bridges.
Yeah, no, I love that. Like, I love that you're excited about it as well, because if you have a look at like even like metaverses, if you have a look at the partnerships we've done today, like, we've partnered with like Illuvium. Like, we really respect those guys and love what they're doing, and we want to partner with them on everything they're doing, really. But the initial partnership is really just them building Illuvium towers, or having Illuvium towers in Miami. Their community will have access through their NFTs into all the fun, cool stuff they're going to be able to do in those towers. But we also see it having a portal that will wormhole into their metaverse as well. Yeah, like, that's kind of like, that's the vision, that's the future. So that gives you a little bit of a taste on how we're looking at it. But sorry, what were you going to say?
No, actually, it's interesting that you're mentioning Illuvium, because I think that with Illuvium, you're probably part of the limited number of metaverses that are actually using Unreal Engine. So for the non-gamers that are listening to us, maybe you could like kind of provide an overview of what Unreal Engine is and what it enables people to experience in terms of, living a digital experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to probably admit myself, I'm not a massive gamer, and the devs could probably take you down on the rabbit hole through this. But like, yeah, look, Unreal 5 is about to essentially just kind of launch. Unreal 5 has just launched. Unreal Engine is a gaming engine that think about any really cool game that you've probably played. If you are a gamer, it was probably being built through Unreal, and what 5 actually allows, like what it's bringing in terms of improvements in the way we play gameplay in the future, and like everything from just like more accurate lighting, immersive sound, like better physics. Like, it's pretty insane what you can do. And Neo, basically our co-founder and the architect of Wilder World, has always, is the visionary. Yeah, it's the source of like we have to have photorealism, we have to have hyperrealism, we have to always be focusing on like where we're going to be in like 12 months, 24 months, and like 10 years later. Yeah. So we're about to we also have a cinematic trailer that's about to be released as well. And when you see that and actually start to understand like the beauty and all of our assets, like that are just like the crafts are flying around, the wheels are driving around, all of these in-game assets that our cribs, the cube building, you'll see that like you're gonna want to hang around in this world. You're gonna want to hang around in World, like when it comes out of beta. So Unreal essentially is the engine that allows us to create this beautified virtual world that is like, if not photorealism, hyperrealism, and so yeah, we're big believers in that.
Yeah, it's very interesting because, back to the intro, you've got billions of gamers out there that are used to very, very high quality of experience. So if you look at, the people that are playing, on Sony PlayStation or even the Xbox, they're used to AAA games. So the thing is, if we'll start to, we're building out obviously all of these amazing worlds, but they need to have at least the same quality of experience for them to be able to port to the metaverse. And it's not only about the experience, it's also about the whole benefits of what digital ownership and Web3 bring to them. And speaking of that, you've also you've got the wild token. I'm curious about how you're designing the game economics around that token and what people will be able to do with that.
Yeah. On the token, the tokenomics. So we're also big on DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. So Wild is the DAO token, and it governs pretty much everything in the Wilder Nation. It's community owned, gives incentives and rewards to artists and collectors and citizens alike. We've really tried to and it's not just us, like most projects are doing this. Like the thing we love about Web3 and crypto is that and DAOs is that we can genuinely create a win for all model. You can generally create governance systems, reward mechanisms that kind of like reward the community or artists or whoever wants to get involved for their level of participation. So there's a number of dynamics around the token to come around in game, in world. We also have a bridging token called loot token, which will allow us to have other tokens available inside Wilder World or bridged into Wilder World if they're ERC20, like if they're on mainnet and beyond as well once the technology allows for it. So we feel like there's collaboration, staking, cross staking, cross project staking, all these types of different things. There's so much potential for this new economy and the tokenomics of that Web3 brings, and we're really at the beginning. Like we're still so early in all of this. So when the markets happen like they're happening at the moment, get a little bit of a bear run, or when people are saying crypto is just a phase, it's like I think that's a lot of people who have vested interests in like the old world fiat system, which is a bit more win-lose and a bit more like trickle down, whereas like the power of DAOs that the Wilders, that we believe as a Wilder project and nation, is this kind of absolute equality and like a system that allows a win for all model.
Yeah, 100%. And we've been talking since the beginning, and I think that most listeners will probably think that we're talking about a game, which is obviously the main I'd say a door into this world, is to discover metaverse environments via play to earn mechanisms. But I'm sure that there are many other use cases that you guys are planning for. Could you maybe speak a little bit more to that?
Well, I can't drop too much alpha right here. Like I said, Mo, you're going to get me into trouble. No, I think it's really important to kind of note there on that is that player versus player, play to earn will be a key part of Wilder World, but we're actually building the metaverse. Yeah, we're actually building a part of the metaverse, like our own universe and universes inside the whole decentralized metaverse. Like, we won't talk about that other big tech organization that's building their metaverse and the IOI type of style. But like we feel like whilst we need these types of things for people to have fun and be interactive and in game and in world, a great way to kind of again, look at Axie's model, what they've been able to do for minimum wage, people on minimum wage in the Philippines. Like, that story is insane, man. I love that. Like,
Awesome.
It's been able to change a whole kind of nation workforce. That's the type of stuff that we can't predict, or we don't know what we don't know, but we know it's coming. And I think Neo, the architect that I mentioned earlier, like, this is his jam. And if he was on here, if it wasn't 1 a.m. where he is right now, he would take you down a rabbit hole on this type of stuff, and maybe we might need to get him back to do that. But I think,
love that.
I think the narrative there is that there's so much to come and so much magic to come. But the main use cases of our tokenomics and our token at the moment are definitely rewarding community, creating real value in the DAO, so that we can support other projects and support community members, like who wants to build something in Wild World, these types of things. So that's kind of there is a lot of utility to it, but I think it's kind of, that's where I probably want to leave that for now, and then like watch this space.
Yeah, 100%. And if seeing worlds and technologies evolve right before our eyes is something so fascinating. And I think it's like, probably once in a lifetime opportunity when you see something so disruptive, just being built right, in front of your eyes. And speaking of, the evolution of the adoption itself, we'll obviously need to do a lot of work with regards to education, security, and other elements there. But, let's focus on education. You've been making waves lately by announcing, some big names for partnerships such as, Chad Knight and Jake Paul, which are people that, very famous people that have a lot of following and that can work, that can be the main adoption gate to, your wilder world and the metaverse in a more general sense. How are you thinking about that? And how are you thinking of, utilizing people with, reputation and, having, real impact to bring them into this world?
Yeah, well, this is the really fun part of the gig. Yeah, we're gonna see mainstream. I'm already seeing it from the types of people who are reaching out to us, who want to get involved, want to participate. At every level that you can think of. So obviously, we're focused initially on our partnerships with crypto native projects, because that made a lot of sense. People understood what we were doing, and we could have a lot of fun with it. And as I mentioned earlier, it's no point having a metaverse or an open metaverse if you've got, no one to hang out with or nothing to do or no one to race around in your wilder wheel. So we've been very lucky with some of the projects, and like very humbled by some of the support and the projects that we've been able to partner with. So that's and that will continue. Like, we honestly, like I mentioned earlier, we feel like we want to partner with everyone. We want to partner with Decentraland. We want to partner with Sandbox. These types of people as well, who everyone might think we're like competing, but like the metaverse is meta. Web3, decentralized Web3 has the promise to to really have this connectedness and this kind of we're all connected in some way, shape, or form. So why wouldn't we kind of continue that? So we've got a big agenda around our partnerships, not just crypto native. Now we're looking at very much cultural. I think any project or cultural kind of talent or icon that has the wilder spirit and is kind of like on the journey as well, and really wants to be part of what we're creating. Like we're like, we have the space and we've got the land and we're building, and we're really, I think events are going to be a really big part, like, how content and, you mentioned Zoom meetings for work, but like, there's sporting events, there's sporting play to earns, there's like all these types of different things. So we're really looking, pretty much anyone in the real world that's wanting to kind of understand the metaverse a bit more, and how they can integrate in, like we're having a lot of really interesting conversations, and we're really happy to have you guys along for the journey as well, Mo. Like we're big fans. We're all ledger holders. Like we're all like long before we started having the conversation, we're all kind of hodling our own hardware wallets there. So we think that you guys are absolute leaders in the field, and I think it just makes absolute natural sense that we collaborate on a partnership in Miami where we focus on the education, security, and freedom of what you guys are all about and what you're delivering, because every single person here in our community would have probably had some sort of experience with a scam, or some sort of experience with we've faced a lot of like people are they're very sophisticated operations. So the more that we can team together, the more that we can get the word out, the more that we can help educate not only our citizens of the wilder nation, but also like other community projects. And if we have a fun, interactive place to do that, like the Ledger Loft in Miami, then I think that's we're going to be able to create some real magic there, man. So we're excited about that.
100%. You just dropped the bomb, man.
To officially announce it. I hope I was allowed to do that.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
No, man, we're really, really pleased to partner with you guys. We really like what you're doing and your whole vision about bringing in, different verticals and industries and talents, because this is what the metaverse is all about, is, all of these internet verticals coming in together without borders in one place. And to your point, it's still a wild world out there. There's still a lot of, we still have a lot to do when it comes to education and security. But we strongly feel that for this space to succeed, education needs to be fun. And education needs to be interactive, and education needs to be gamified. So, on our side, the beginning of the year, we decided to, switch things a little bit. How could we start doing education in a way that was anchored in the ethos of Web3? That spoke to the communities, that resonated with whatever assets they owned, or whatever asset they wanted to get rewarded, by holding, or by playing in order to get them as rewards. So the whole idea was, we really wanted to do that. And when you guys came to us with the idea of partnering with you with by enabling us to build a security and educational loft, with everything you had going with the wheels and all of these mechanisms, we thought that this would be a great opportunity for us to launch our gamified educational initiatives in Wilder World. So we're pretty excited about this, and I feel that this is basically the beginning of a new way of doing education. As you mentioned, the fluffs, we're doing, educational initiatives with the fluffs, enabling creators to use their avatars in order to educate people. What we'll be doing with you guys is enabling people to come into your world and use whatever mechanisms you have to be able to learn about security and self-custody. And maybe you can bring all of these initiatives together into one world one day. And this is what's fascinating about all of everything going on in the metaverse. So we're super stoked, man.
Yeah, you guys are right out there, man. You're leading. I think we, the world's been like IRL has been pretty serious lately. There's a lot of, things happening in the world. There's a lot of heaviness. I think, like allowing a place to have fun and like, being able to gamify this type of education, and, really important, like, really important to kind of like have these show people and I think what you guys are doing with Fluff is really, really smart, like putting it into the community's hands and saying, hey, how do we get better at this? What do we do? Like, what do you like? Help us build this. Like, that's what Web3
Exactly,
is, man.
bottom
It's
up.
like
We can't
totally
different perspectives instead of having one perspective. That's what's amazing.
Exactly.
And I think we'll be surprised. We're not good at everything. And if people out there have the talents, and now with Web3 we have the financial layer and the incentives to be able to, put in place different initiatives at the same time and reward people, not middlemen. And this is fascinating.
That's the wildest spirit right there, man.
Yeah, see, we got the wild spirit here.
Yeah, you just encapsulated it. Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun. We're excited to build with you guys as well. There's lots of different fun stuff we can do along the way until like your community will actually be able to access it, obviously when we come out of beta, but I think we're speaking about a lot of ideas. There's not a lack of fun ideas that we can do together, so we're definitely excited. We're so glad to have you guys in Miami. We're going to think about Laris. We're going to think about what we're doing in Europe next, man. Like,
well, man, we're gonna have fun. That's for sure. And people are gonna have fun with us. So that's a big message to everyone out there. If you're listening to this, prepare to play to earn and learn to earn with Ledger in Wilder World. Yeah. Well, thanks for dropping by. And looking forward to the future. A wild future.
Love it. Yeah, if people want to know more about Wilder World, you can jump into our Discord. It's in our Twitter profile. Sorry, it's at Wilder World. And then we'd love we'd love to see you there. And if not, we'll catch you in Miami.
For sure, catch you in Miami, driving the wheels with Ledger. Thanks, man. It's been a pleasure.
The Wilders salute you.
Exactly. Wilders salute you. Cheers, man. Thanks, man. Cheers. That's it. An amazing conversation with Hypno from Wilder World. If you want to learn more, head over to the Discord, ask us questions, and let's build together. This was On The Ledger from Paris with your host Moel Sayed. Till next time, take care. Au revoir. This content is provided for informational purposes only and is the sole expression of our opinion and should not be relied upon as legal, business, investment, or tax advice. Do your own research. Any loss or profit is your sole responsibility. Stay safe.